I tried the top 15 free applications on a first generation iPad mini, and I was surprised at the results. So is the first generation iPad mini still useful in 2020? Welcome to Billboard. So I recently acquired a first generation iPad mini, the first one I've ever owned. I've had iPads before, including the first generation iPad, but never the mini. So I was excited to try it out. The iPad mini was released in late 2012. It had a 7.9 inch screen as compared to the 9.7 inches of the standard iPad at the time. As far as I'm aware, it had similar internal specs as the iPad 2, and it also predated the Retina display. The first generation iPad mini also came with a lightning connector. I love the form factor of the iPad mini. It seems like such a pleasant size for a device. Even for a first generation, it's super thin and it sits easily in your hands. So I did a complete wipe and set it up as a brand new device. Sadly, the first thing I noticed was how surprisingly slow it was. It's worth noting that the first generation iPad mini is only capable of being upgraded to iOS 9.3.5, so it's a few versions behind. And unlike my first generation iPad, which will remain on the older looking iOS 5 for the rest of eternity, the iPad mini looks almost identical in look and feel to the most current iOS 13. Anyway, back to the slowness. When I opened the App Store on the iPad mini, it would sometimes take up to 2 minutes to load, but other times it would open in around 20 seconds. Either way, this was way slower than what I'm used to on my iPhone 10. In the iPad mini's defense, the device is only the 16 gig model, which means it's very easy to fill up the memory, which I think probably impacts performance. Anyway, it got me wondering, how useful is the first generation iPad mini in 2020? And by usefulness, I was thinking about performance, usability, and the ability to run the latest or most commonly used apps. I decided to test this out by attempting to install and run the top 15 free apps from the App Store, as well as some commonly used ones such as TikTok and Minecraft. Let's get started. So I didn't have much success with the top 15 free apps, so I thought I'd test another couple of famous and commonly used apps. First up, the sensation that is TikTok. Yep, that's working. Next up, let's see if we can get Minecraft up and running. Okay, it's let me sign in. I can walk around. It took me a long time to get to this part. It's a bit clunky but quite usable, although I'm not very good at it. I'd say that's a success. And let's check out the always popular Netflix. Okay, so no success, but can we still watch Netflix on the browser? Let's load up Safari and see. It allowed me to log in, browse the content available, but as soon as I tried to watch something, it told me to download the app. Unfortunately, you click on the app and we are back to square one. So unless there's a workaround, I won't be using Netflix on the iPad mini. And while we're in Safari, let's also see if we have more luck with YouTube through the browser. Looks like this is working, and working well. Wow, there's some great content on YouTube that could be worth checking out. And what about a graphically and bandwidth intense site like The Verge? Yep, scrolling through, seems fine, just not super smooth. So what about the Apple apps? How do they fare? I tested both Find My iPhone and Find My Friends, and they worked really well. The Photos app was okay, albeit a bit slow. The Mail app, News app, iTunes app, Photo Booth, FaceTime, podcasts, and every standard pre-installed Apple app worked fine. But I guess that's to be expected. I guess the one thing I wasn't able to test was whether existing apps would still work if they'd been installed previously. For example, if you'd installed YouTube in 2012, would that app still work today? If you've had this experience, let me know in the comments. So is the first generation iPad mini still useful in 2020? I think it is, but there are limitations. The first limitation is that there are a lot of apps that are no longer or never were compatible with the iPad mini. But there are some surprises such as TikTok and Minecraft that are actually quite usable, and maybe your favourite app also works fine. The second limitation is performance. As this device is over 7 years old, it's a bit of a sloth compared to modern devices. Sure, it's quite usable, but things can be super slow. The third limitation, and it's not big in my opinion, is some of the screen and camera specs. It's not a Retina display and the camera is only 5 megapixels. But really, who cares? The screen looks clear and very readable to me, and I'm not planning on using it to take photos. So if you want a fun little device that can do basic web surfing, read emails, take the odd photo, play podcasts or music, and also find your iPhone for you, then the iPad mini could be a nice to have in your Apple collection. Do you have an iPad mini first generation? Do you use it every day? Let me know in the comments or reach out on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button.
Bro.